So, have you ever sat in the studio tweaking the mix of your track for hours on end, but no matter what, it doesn't sound right? This is the exact problem Tobias, one of the producers in my program, had. Until he submitted this track for feedback, which we do about every 2 weeks, where we went through 10 things that transformed his track from this to this. And by the way, if you want to submit your track for me to roast on a video in this channel, then check the link below this video. So, number 1. Have you ever been to a club and the DJ drops this tune and it just doesn't hit right? Not because it's a bad song, it just doesn't have that warm feeling of the bass vibrating through your body. When it comes to kick and bass, most producers do one of these two things, and tell me in the comment if I'm wrong. You either slap a kick and a bass preset and call it a day, or you spend 3 hours looking for a kick and 10 hours tweaking the sounds of your bass. But in both cases, you end up frustrated. So instead of overcomplicating the process of your bass, just follow these principles. First, you need to choose a powerful kick. So this is a great example of what a non-powerful kick is. Yes, it's alright, but it's not powerful as this one. The difference is so big. It's enough that you just have one high-quality sample back. I'll go into making your own kicks in a future video on this channel. So a classic techno rhythm has this delay effect on the kick. But this can cause a lot of issues. So I highly recommend just splitting it into 2 different channels. On the second channel, I just added an EQ because otherwise it sounds like this. This is way too much. Secondly, a lot of techno kicks have a lot of reverb on them. But look on the oscilloscope what happens when you put a reverb on a kick. It kind of interferes with the low frequencies. So what I did is turning the reverb to 100%, then recording it into a new channel and adding a little bit of an EQ to cut the low and the high frequencies. Adding the kick. And the other layer of the kick with the 2 small ones. Now we have a clean kick and bass with a little bit of a reverb and that familiar techno rhythm. So now that you have the kick sorted, use these principles to make your bass powerful. Listen to this bass and tell me what's wrong with it. Let me play the bass I made. All I did was literally taking a sine wave, adding some saturation, and that's it. If you want a powerful bass, just make it loud. It's that simple. Second, you have to record your bass into audio, so you don't get into phase issues. What does that actually mean? Look at the oscilloscope as I play the original kick and bass of this track. Notice how the shape of the kick seems very unbalanced. It has peaks, they have like some parts that are going down. It's not stable. If I take the bass off and extra reverb, you can see that it really changes the shape of our kick. On a big sound system in a club or a festival, this is going to make a massive difference. It just won't be as powerful. Now, listen to this kick and bass. Notice how the kick is staying stable throughout, even if I mute the bass. Even if I mute the reverb. Or the other 2 kicks. And that is because I've recorded the bass into audio. So you can see I added the fade here as well to make sure that the sub bass doesn't interfere with the transient of the kick. But also I have this secret weapon. It's called Fuser. So let me turn it off and notice what difference that makes. Let's turn it back on. Magic. What this plugin does is like this. I put it on my bass and I added the sidechain input from the kick. So it's basically reading the kick. Hello, little cat. What are you doing here? I'm trying to record a video and you want all the attention. So what it does, it's cutting the frequencies of the kick from the bass, so they don't interfere with each other. This is a super clean way to create space for your kick, so the bass doesn't smash it and doesn't cause it to be less powerful. You can literally see my kick and the bass playing right here, and it's taking the frequencies of the kick off from my bass. And if you look at the oscilloscope again, this is what it does. I highly recommend using this plugin because you can use it to clean up kick and bass, but also you can use it for so many more things, which I actually cover in my program Start to Finished. Kick and bass is just one reason out of 10 why a track doesn't carry enough energy. Number 2, whenever I receive a track for feedback, like 80% of the times, it doesn't have enough high frequency energy. Just listen to the difference between this track and the reference track. So it's really noticeable that the hi-hat in the reference track is much brighter and also much wider. So the percussions in the original tracks are not too bad, like the clap is pretty good. I wanted to add 2 hats to make them wide and a little bit brighter. So first of all, I added this hat. Just a little closed hat, and then I added another one, an open hat. And this by itself makes such a big difference. We will talk about the lead sound situation of this track later in the video. So, reason number 2 is thin percussions. Number 3. We are not done yet with the percussions. Listen to this loop and think about what's wrong with it. Did you figure it out? Yes, it just sounds all over the place. It's not a percussion loop anymore. It has a lot of noise in it, and when you play it together with the rest of the percussions, it kind of masking everything else. There is a really easy fix for that. So I'll give you 2 options if you're in Ableton, and also a really cool plugin that can do a similar thing. So if you're in Ableton, go to the warp mode, and instead of transient, choose 16th and change this from forward, backwards, backwards, forward to forward and stop. And then we will turn the envelope lower. Or alternatively, you can use this plugin. Change it to beats, go to 16th. And this actually sounds even a little bit better than before. So yes, reason number 3 is unrefined percussions. Number 4, so many producers struggle with this one. What would you do if you're working on your track and it doesn't sound good? Try to add more elements, keep tweaking the sounds of your track, right? But if you keep tweaking the sounds of your track with an EQ curve that looks something like this, maybe there is something fundamentally wrong with that sound. That's why sound selection is so important. Selecting the right sounds mean you don't have to do much mixing. And that's actually one of the problems in this track. There are too many sounds which fight for the same space. I will show you this exact problem and how to solve it a little bit later in the video. But first, I want to give you an exercise which I teach in my program Start to Finish. And it's helping my client achieve a super clean sounding tracks. So my tip here would be, when you start working on a track, select sounds that fit naturally together without any EQ or compression. So reason number 4 is poor sound selection. Number 5. When you're mixing a track, you need to mix the most important things first. So we mix the bass and we mix the percussions. But now listen to this acid sound, which I mentioned before. This is the main lead of the track, and try to think what's wrong with it. So, did you figure it out? Well, it doesn't cut through the mix. It kind of disappears when I add all the rest of the elements. But there's a simple way to fix that. And we will do that in 3 different ways. Well, 2 different ways. So first of all, I added this filter, which has these like 2 picks, and it has shitloads of distortion. Okay, this adds a little bit of crunch, but I wanted to add another type of distortion, and this is an amp emulator. So you can use any distortion you like, any filter which has drive. You don't have to use this plugin. I just like having everything in one place, if that makes sense. Nice. But I also wanted to add a little bit of movement because the sound is very static. So added another filter, and I have this sequencer controlling the cutoff and the resonance. Disappears completely. So reason number 5 is lack of processing. Number 6. If we are already fixing this lead, then there is another problem with it. Listen to this compared to the reference track and tell me if you can notice what is the problem with the lead. The lead in the reference track is so much wider. And the solution comes in a form of this amazing free plugin. Yeah, it's literally called Wider. So I added it on the lead. I'm going to play the track, and you can see here on the blue fainted line how it gets wider. Even has this low pass, so it doesn't affect any of the low frequencies. Without the wider, and by the way, this plugin is fully mono compatible. Listen to the lead. Mono. Without the plugin, in mono. Let's turn the plugin on. No difference at all. Back to stereo. So yeah, it only adds stereo information. Reason number 6 is poor stereo imaging. Number 7. So if you ever find yourself mixing your track for hours on end and not understanding why it still sounds muffled and muddy, this is the reason. So I will add all the lead sounds and the percussion sounds one after the other, and I want you to think for yourself, what exactly is the problem with this track? figure this out? A lot of the sounds that I was adding literally didn't add anything to this track. There are just too many sounds competing for the same space. So what you need to do is you need to decide which sound is more important. So if we're just talking about our lead sounds, we have this sound, which is clearly the most important sound of this track. Then you need to find its character with an EQ. Don't worry, it's getting somewhere. So let's get an EQ. This sounds really nice. Let's make a little boost here. Same here. And same here. And then we need to decide what are the other sounds that we want. Stick with 2 or 3 elements. You don't need 10 different elements competing for space. So I think that the other 2 elements that we have are this and this. Let's reduce the volume a little bit. Now, they're still competing for space, so what I will do is, I'm going to take this EQ sound, I will cut it, and I will copy it onto this sound, and then I will reverse it. So take the scale and turn it to -100. So it's removing the same frequencies from the main sound. We will do the same thing for the last sound of this track. So reason number 7 why your track doesn't sound professional is frequency masking. Number 8. What makes a track professional? It's a serious question. Write it in the comments. So when you're listening to music, your brain constantly tries to predict what happens next. So if your sounds aren't moving, your track just won't grab the listener's attention and they will probably skip for the next track. I want to show you 2 ways you can fix that. I'm going to add another instance of Filterverse onto our main lead. Let's go to Decimate and let's add a meta knob onto the filter. And let's automate this to add a little bit of movement, a little bit of tension. Second thing, I want to make this sound and make it swirl around the stereo field. Let's start by adding a sequencer on a sine wave, and let's add it on all the filter cutoff. Let's turn it to stereo. Now the sound is literally swirling around our lead, actually creating more space in between them. So reason number 8 is lack of movement. Reason number 9. What I really love about modern electronic music, that it flows really nicely from one section to another. Producers go into great length to create transitions that sound intricate but actually are really simple. This can really help to keep the listeners surprised and engaged with your music. I do have a video about it, but you should watch it after you watch this video, because the last technique in this video will bring your track to the same level as your favorite producers, and it ties everything together. So let's improve one of the transitions in this track. Like, the transition here is okay. I'm not a big fan of using sounds like this, like reverse crashed, because it kind of sounds cheap. And there isn't really much separation between the lead here. And we need to fix that. So first of all, we need to create some movement in our lead. So we already added this filter, but let's add another filter. Keep it really simple. we will automate this filter. So I have two different types of automation on this lead. Listen to this. Okay, this already sounds a bit more interesting. It indicates to the listener that something is about to change. Second, I'm not a big fan of this sound. Let's do something else instead. So what most producers do to make the transition feel a bit more professional is create transition element, effects element out of the existing elements of your track. So let's take this clap. Let's put a massive reverb on it. Get the coils. We will add a little bit of automation of the other reverb and record this into audio. Okay, so let's take this sound, reverse it. Let's bring back our percussions, add a little bit of an EQ to cut down the low frequencies. And now we have something which sounds way more interesting and actually is made out of our clap. So let's get rid of the other elements. So reason number 9 is unpolished transitions and fills. In my program Start to Finish, there is a deep dive into all of the topics in this video, giving you a system for each and one of them. Adam, Bruno, Yassine, and many other producers have been smashing it with releases, songs playing on the radio, and getting booked for loads of gigs. So if you want to take the next level in your music career and produce high quality music that people actually love, check the link below this video. Number 10. Even if you've been following every step in this video, your track won't sound professional until you complete the next step. So imagine this, you're trying to cook a complex meal without the recipe. Obviously you can guess how much seasoning or sauce to add, but the end result might taste dull and flavorless. But when you have the recipe, you know exactly how to cook the meal. Yeah, it might not be absolutely perfect, but with a little practice, you can make the meal taste wonderful. And it's the same with music. That's why you have to use a reference track. There are many more ways to use reference tracks, which I teach in my program Start to Finish. But for this example, it's like having a recipe that tells you exactly how loud each element in your track needs to be, how wide, and if your track is too compressed or it's not compressed enough. Okay, these 10 things are great to know. But there are a few more things you need to learn, and particularly how to make your bass hit hard, even if you just started producing, because in this video we only use the simple sub bass. So if you want to learn more about making powerful basses, watch this video next. I'll see you then. Peace.